overthinking thoughts can become intrusive and negative. But what really drew me in about this book was the thickness of this book. And I don't know how you feel about that, but that's just a personal thing. Are you someone who's been called an overthinker or been told at times that you may overanalyze something? Yeah, same here. I often am told that I'm overthinking something, and many times it looks as though I may be overcomplicating something. And you know what? Overthinking definitely is something that a lot of us do. It's something that's pretty normal in the human way of life. And so overthinking has its place, it has its purpose in many ways in all of our lives. However, it's when those overthinking thoughts can become intrusive and negative where they can impact your daily life. And so that's something that actually has personally been happening to me. I oftentimes can overthink and overanalyze something, and it creates a downward spiral for me. And in one of those downward spirals, I was actually spiraling out, and my younger brother actually recommended a book to me. And of course, I side-eyed him like, well, you're recommending me a book? But you know, as a busy adult who has a 8 to 4 or a 9 to 5, and has life to be lived, animals to be taken care of, a husband to tend to, it can be something that can sometimes get in the way, or it can become something that's a luxury to be able to just read a piece of literature. So for him to tell me to read, it was like, what? But anyway, it's a personal thing. And so he told me that this book had been coming up on his feed a lot. And when he told me the title, I said, oh, that sounds interesting, you know, and so I kind of like pushed it to the side. However, as one does, one goes to Barnes and Nobles and peruses the aisles at Barnes and Nobles. And when I was perusing the aisles, I actually saw the book that he recommended to me, and it's this very book right here that I have in my hands. It's called Don't Believe Everything You Think, Why Your Thinking is the Beginning and End of Suffering. And although I was hesitant to pick it up, but I immediately saw the book, and it was pretty plain, and I kind of judged it at first. But what really drew me in about this book was the thickness of this book. And I don't know if you can see this from all the way over there, but if I zoom in, it's like not even a full inch thick. And as I was just stating, I love to read literature, but it's a leisure, it's a luxury, and reading nonfiction text often can become daunting. It's like it can feel like a daunting task, because there's not like a lot of drama and suspense. There's not like a love interest, something like happening. It's like some, you know, especially this kind of literature, it's self-help, and you have to think to yourself and really give a lot of self-reflection. And because I'm on this self-reflection journey as it is, I thought this is coming at the perfect time. The thickness of this book is coming at the perfect time. So I picked it up. And I often do this too in Barnes and Nobles. I don't just pick it up and read the back. I will dive into it and read like the first chapter. And some people might cringe at this, but if it's a fictional text, I will read the last paragraph too. I don't know how you feel about that, but that's just a personal thing. So I read the first introduction of the story, and this is what got me and why I purchased the book. Everything feels hopeless, but this is only half the story. The narrative you are living can be changed at any time because it is being written in real time by you. Life does not have to be this way. Life is not suffering. Suffering is a part of life, but it does not have to be the majority of it. So he begins the story, Joseph Nguyen, and I apologize if that's the inappropriate pronunciation or the improper pronunciation of his last name, but Joseph states that first he defines what a thought is and what thinking is, and I was like, okay, you feel the need to do this, but it's really actually it sets up the structure of the entire book. So a thought is a noun, right? And of course, a noun, I'm bringing the teacher out in me, but is a person, place, or thing. And so a thought, it is a mental raw material, an idea or concept. And thinking is a verb, right? The ing part, it's a verb. An action, a judgment on those thoughts. Thoughts are reality, and thinking is our perception of reality. Okay, so then to go even deeper into that, it's thoughts are our reality, and thinking is our perception of the reality. So through our perception, we shape our reality. And so we have thoughts all day long. It is the feeling we begin to attach to those thoughts that cause us to think. And just for instance, when I was thinking about this, I was like, okay, I have thoughts all day long. Of course, everyone does. I didn't understand it fully until he said that he gave a little description of a coffee shop story in the book. And he states that a thought is like, we're going to go to the coffee shop. So you go to the coffee shop. But when you're at the coffee shop, you are thinking about all the things that you should be doing instead of being at the coffee shop, where there's another person there eating their muffin and they look like they're having a grand old time, right? They're just eating their muffin. They're excited. They may be like looking out the window. It's a beautiful day. Spring is springing. And they're just like really enjoying the moment. Whereas you're thinking about all these things you need to get done, these deadlines that you're having. And like you're both in the same moment in time. You're in reality. In reality, you're both in this coffee shop. You're both eating a muffin. But you're miserable and the other person is content. And you're miserable because at that time, your perception of the reality is that you have all these things to get done and do, whereas the other individual is just really living in the moment. Their perception is, I'm having a great time eating a muffin. And even further than that, right? Like, and then I had to think about it. I was like, well, when are the times that I do that? It's like even just, we all get up in the morning, right? We all get up, we open our eyes, our alarm clock goes off, we hit the alarm. Some of us get right up out of bed, get ready, go work out. That's my morning. I get up, I work out. But when you begin to think about having to get up is when the dread comes in. It's when the stress comes in. It's when the downward spiral comes in. It's when you hit the alarm, you're like, oh my God, I'm so tired. I want to go back to sleep. I was having such a great dream. But if you just get up and you hit the alarm and you just get ready and instead of thinking about the process of having to physically get out of bed, then it definitely changes your perception on the situation. So if you think the thought, get up, I'm getting out of bed, versus thinking of having to get out of bed, even your feeling of the emotion, the negativity you attach to it, that feeling you attach to the thought of getting up changes your perception of reality. It literally changes how you are perceiving that moment. You have the choice to choose between whether you want it to be a positive interaction or a negative interaction just in the moment of waking up, just in the moment of driving to work, just in the moment of being in your office space or being wherever you are in that moment. You have that thought. And the more we think about a thought, the greater or more intense the feeling may arise. So if your thoughts are those that waver towards negative thinking, you are more prone to have a negative thought. And like negativity is actually a normal, having negative thoughts is normal within our lives. All of us have negative thoughts. In fact, even stated in Joseph's book, as we have evolved as human beings, our brain has evolved to help us survive. And so created this we've created these negative thoughts in our mind to keep us safe from the outside world. And so, for instance, right, like you don't want to go for a walk outside at night because you don't want something to happen to you, or you don't want to eat an unknown food because you're unsure, like, who cooked it or where did it come from, because you want to be safe. You know that there are dangers out in the world that can harm you. So our brains have evolved to have these negative thoughts, which are totally normal. But it's very important for us to control those thoughts and how we're thinking. And our mind wants us to protect us from harm. However, sometimes those thoughts stop us from wanting to act upon those thoughts, or to withhold us from aspiring or attaining something due to fear of the unknown. And in fact, that fear of the unknown is something that comes from overthinking. And I'm going to be vulnerable here and share with you, even today, before I even sat down to film this episode, I was thinking to myself, I said, oh, I can't film yet. I need to wash my hair. I need to make sure that it's curled perfectly. I need to make sure that I'm wearing the right outfit. Like, as superficial as those things may sound, like, filming the episode was the thought. But when I started to think about all the things that surrounded filming the episode, I was unable to attain filming the episode. So I immediately stopped myself and said, wait, I'm overthinking and overcomplicating this. I need to just sit down and start producing, start creating. And I have stopped myself from doing things often because I overthink them and overanalyze them. So even in just simply complicating the episode or the action of beginning to film an episode, I was causing myself to overthink and overanalyze, and it caused, even though it wasn't actual like suffering, it did cause a negative train of thought. And that negativity led me to overanalyze, even just like beginning the thought process of being creative and attempting to try something new, such as a podcast on YouTube. And think about that for a second, even for yourself. How many times have you like self-sabotaged yourself because you've been overthinking or overanalyzing something? Perhaps you wanted to start a physical journey of like going for a run, and you started to be like, oh man, like, oh, but it's cold out, it's kind of windy, like, oh, I didn't really properly fuel, like, or, you know what, let me look online and see what all the content creators are saying about becoming a runner. Like, oh, I can't run without a vest. I need shoes. And in reality, you had the thought of getting more active, and you wanted to start becoming more an active individual, and you wanted to start running. That was where the thought was. So the action of actually beginning to run was paused or stopped because you wanted to get all the gear. You wanted to make sure you did a deep dive into knowing all the things about running, when in reality just starting was where you needed to go. Perhaps maybe getting the proper shoes. That's the only advice I would give about that. As someone who just started their own running journey, definitely get your own shoes. But we tend to overcomplicate things, and because we stop ourselves from really experiencing and becoming and allowing ourselves to really be in the moment of creating, and be in the moment of starting a new journey, and being in the moment. And that is where the true joy lies, is being in the moment and allowing things to flourish and grow. And after reading the book, I realized that I put a lot of thinking into my thoughts and stopped myself from growing. And in that stopping, even though you might not view it as like the term suffering, but how many times are you going to stop for yourself from living in the moment and doing something or taking action on something that could really benefit you in the long run, because you're so caught up in the train of thought, or the negative feeling of like what someone's going to think, or how people are going to perceive you, or how can you even begin to tackle this if you don't have all the things that you need? You're stopping and causing yourself to suffer because you haven't allowed yourself to just do. And that is one of my biggest takeaways from this, was that when I find myself overanalyzing and stopping myself from doing something to achieve something, especially, or it takes me out of the moment of being in the moment, of enjoying an experience, I really need to pause. And that's one of my biggest takeaways from this book. And the one advice that I'm taking from this book that I think everyone could value, and it's pause. Pause. And pause is not only the word to pause, to take to reprieve or break. It is also an acronym, and each letter represents something. And I'm just gonna flip to it here in the book, because I thought I can't replicate what he is saying here in the book, and of course as I'm flipping through I can't find it. Give me a second. Oh, here we go. Okay, pause. P stands for pause and take a breath. Breathe, calm your nervous system, and ground yourself in the present. So first, breathe. Then ask yourself, is this thinking making me feel the way I want to? Or do I want to keep suffering? So first pause, then ask. Next, you understand that you have the choice to stop and let it go. S, say. Say and repeat the mantra. Thinking is the root cause of suffering. Or just saying to yourself, like, am I overthinking this? Am I making myself feel negatively about this right now? And E, experience your emotions fully without judgment, resistance, or thinking. Don't think, just feel. Right? And that's a important one, because often, like, if you in the experience of it all, you may be feeling all these emotions, and it's okay to feel your feelings. There's no negative emotion. It's really to understand that sometimes those emotions are coming from your thoughts and how you're thinking about something rather than the reality of the situation, right? Think about that waking up story. Yeah, you have the right to feel exhausted, because you know what, you're tired. You wake up every day at 5 a.m. You work out every day. You had a rough day yesterday at the office, or the kids are, I don't know, doing kid-like things. And you have to, you feel that way. It's okay to feel those feelings, but attaching the thought, continuing to think more deeply into those things, and stopping you from actually wanting to go and do something, or living in the moment, or experiencing a beautiful time in your life. You have the right to feel all those feelings, but pause and think. Breathe. Let it go. And keep going. Keep living. Keep creating. Keep producing. Live your life. Don't allow your thoughts to cause you to overthink and cause you to suffer. Because honestly, sometimes our thinking is the beginning of our suffering, but we can end it. We can end it. And that's honestly the biggest takeaway I have from this book. This isn't obviously a long podcast, but I think it's very reflective on, even though this is small, great things come in tiny packages. And it is definitely worth the read, worth every inch of the story. It is a little pricey. I think for such a thin book, $22. Perhaps you're just paying for the hardcover. I don't know the science behind how people price books, like how authors, but this is worth the money. Definitely a 4 out of 5. There are some antidotes. There are some exercises in the back, but I think the biggest takeaways is to definitely separate your thought from your thinking, and allow yourself to live more in the moment, and to finally pause and allow yourself to feel those feelings. However, know that you can reevaluate and allow yourself to alter your perception of your current reality and allow those thoughts to be more positively. And really, that's all. If you enjoyed this, I really appreciate you tuning in and listening. Perhaps you can share this episode with someone. As always, you can find me here on YouTube at Hey Titi. That's HEYYTITI. And on all social media platforms, same handle. And you can find us on wherever you stream your podcast episodes. I really hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did, please leave it a like and please subscribe. I post videos every other week. Our next episode, we're going to be getting into the 4 agreements, another self-help like literature. I just finished reading that. I'm working on kind of the summary of it all. Thank you all for your time. Nos vemos, familia. Adiós.